Coming up, maybe Alan, you could later, if there's time, you could just say a couple of the places that you'll be.
Well, I can make a couple of comments. I Love Books in Del Mar has it. The Book House, pretty much any of the bookstores in the Capital District, and for people who might be tuning in from afar, they're in bookstores all over the Northeast. I hate to plug Amazon, but I'd rather you buy it from a bookstore, but you can get it from Amazon. Yeah. If you're uncertain, go take a look at the 5-star reviews on Amazon by readers. Yeah. I'm going to be at the Voorheesville Public Library live with the full Doghiker presentation in July, so you ought to check that out. And later July or early August, I'll be at the Keene Valley Library up in the High Peaks, Keene Valley, New York, later in the summer. I'm expecting I'm going to get more invitations for live presentations as we get, I hope, behind COVID.
Yeah, and Alan, aren't you planning another book that's just with your photos and annotations of the photos?
My wife will shoot me if I admit it, but she already knows about it. I'm working on another manuscript. It's all dog photos with their narratives, and it's going to be called Trails with Tales. So I'm in the early process of getting photographs. So stand by. A couple of years.
So you'll get an abbreviated taste of that kind of thing at the end of the program. So maybe we should get to the discussion topics. The first is getting a dog for hiking. I mean, for those who maybe don't have a dog yet, but you're planning to get one, I understand they're kind of hard to adopt during COVID, but once things get a little bit back to normal, do you have any advice on how to choose the right dog for hiking and training, Alan?
Well, rescues make great dogs. They're terrific dogs. I have dozens of friends with terrific rescues. Some people choose to get a dog from a breeder. The advantage of a rescue is you're taking a dog out of a shelter someplace and giving it a home. The advantage of a breeder, according to a lot of people, is that all of the medical tests in the background and the history is there. You can never be sure. A dog, like with a person, is not going to have any flaws, but they do enough testing, and responsible breeders. So basically the choice is yours. John Katz, a very, very famous author, does a lot of essays and has written a number of books on dogs, said this to me, and actually allowed me to put this in my book. Considering what he said, get the dog that'll make you happy, get a dog that you can make happy, get the dog you want, not the dog other people tell you that you should want. Give the dog the best life you can for as long as you can. Do your homework, take it serious. It is serious. So I guess that's my take on what type of dog you should get. Whatever make you happy is going to be the dog you want.
That makes a lot of sense. So,
do you want to talk about types of dogs? We chatted about that before.
Okay, you mean if you don't have yet?
If you don't have yeah. if you don't have a dog, or you're going to get a dog, depending, our vet says basically any medium-sized dog or even slightly smaller can do 90% of what any hiker athlete can do if properly conditioned, and that's really the proper term. We don't go from being sedentary people behind a desk and not doing any exercise to going out and trying to run a half marathon. That's the same with a dog. You get a dog, it should be conditioned slowly. Mileage, start with a walk, start with longer walks. If you're going to run, start with very, very short, and don't do it when they're little bitty baby puppies. So in terms of dogs themselves, there's exceptions to every rule, but snouted dogs with long noses like Labs, Goldens, Weimaraners, German short hair pointers are more aerobically able to do hiking and climbing in stronger hikes. The longer nose channel also allows air to cool before it reaches their interior of their brain, and allows a dog to be able to do more exercise than a short-nosed dog. For example, I know a lot of people who have pugs and hike with pugs very successfully, or King Charles Spaniels. Um, the difference with dog like that is that they have more difficulty staying cool and getting enough air with the short snouts. Our vet pointed out something. A lot of the short snouted dogs, their eyes bulge out a little bit. So for hiking, they're more likely to hit their eye with a stick than with the short pushed in face and the eyes that stick out a little more. So although I know a lot of people that hike with dogs like that, I'm partial to the snouted dogs in terms of fitness, cooling, and less of a chance of an eye injury. Long as we're talking about dogs, this might sound a little secondary, but the fur coat on a dog is really important if you're going to do a lot of hiking. This is my opinion. Short fur dogs, the prickers and burrs ride right off of them. You can brush it right out easily. If you have a dog that has long fur or long tail feathers like a golden, and it goes through brickers or prickers and burdock, it's going to be a real challenge to keep the fur from all matting, and the inevitable rolling and disgusting stuff is a lot simpler if you have like a German Shorthair Pointer or a Lab or a German Shepherd. Toby rolls in something disgusting or jumps into a mud puddle up to her shoulders. She comes home and goes out in the backyard. Other than the 3 months of winter, she gets a hose bath and she's squeaky clean. Try doing that with a curly fur dog. That's a prejudice. That's nothing against all of those other nice breeds, but I like a wash and wear dog because I'm out in the woods with my dog many days a week.
Well, so once someone has the dog of their dreams, what advice would you give them for training and preparing dogs for hiking? I think you mentioned something about Dr. Jennifer Bull. She wrote something for Doghiker about the stages of development of the dogs.
Let me read it to you. It's probably one of the most important pages in the book. Dr. Bull helped with so much of the medical information and training and all of the first aid, improving the kind of first aid kit I formerly carried. And she actually provided what I think is, again, probably the most important page in the book. And she compares the stages of development. And let me backtrack for a second. One of the most frequent questions I see on a number of the hiking forums on Facebook and elsewhere is, how soon can I take my dog running? How soon can I take my dog trail running or hiking? And all of us adopt a dog or have a puppy, and they're enthusiastic, want to take them out and get them tired and have a good time and watch them wag their tail. So she compared the stages of development dogs go through with the stages children experience, pointing out that dogs are still growing until 18 to 24 months old, and their growth plates don't come in until they're teen months. So what she basically said, and allow me to read this, at under 4 months, your puppy is at the toddler stage, where wandering at a leisurely pace is the norm. Like a toddler, your pup will be ready to turn back or quit at any time. From 4 to 9 months, your pup is at the elementary school age with more energy than stamina. They should be learning the rules of the road. Short hikes with play or longer leisurely hikes with play and behavioral expectations are the norm, but no heavy hiking or climbing at this stage. That's 4 to 9 months. between 10 to 14 months, your dog is like a middle schooler with a more of an adult body, but a brain that's easily distracted and impulsive. They're starting to get ready for real physical exertion, meaning short but tough hikes should be okay. At 16 to 24 months, they approximate high school and college age and are ready for real challenges, needing some mentoring, but with better general behavior. It's unfortunate that this is the stage when dogs reach what's termed social puberty. Puppies that used to happily greet everyone and were submissive may start barking at people and getting into scuffles with other dogs. Some dogs just beyond puppyhood may still act like a puppy when interacting with an older dog. The grown-up may have the expectation that the youngster has reached social puberty and should be greeting and interacting in more of a mature manner. This can sometimes result in a fight. So what do I get from that? Take your dog on rolling terrain, easygoing stuff, and don't start the steep, long, hard stuff if you want your dog to have a long, healthy career in the woods with you or on trails with you.
And what's the best way to train them? I think you have the 3Ds and recall. That seemed very important. Or do you want to go somewhere else with that?
Training, in my view, training starts the first day you get your dog home, whether it's a puppy from a breeder, a puppy from a rescue, or an older dog. I have my experiences with puppies, so you can extrapolate to older dogs where it's appropriate. But what I do, I start in our fenced backyard, and it doesn't have to be in a fenced yard, but it should be away from roads or other dogs or distraction. Dog starts exploring the yard or out in the woods with you. You're still the parent. Start getting used to calling their name, getting them used to their name, and hopefully they'll come back. Treat them when they come back to you. Praise them, give them a scritch, rub their ruff. Praise them when they call, so they'll wander around. You work a little longer. If they don't come when you call them, even when they're young, that can be expected. All you need to do, maybe put a little long training lead on them, 10 or 20 foot, very, very thin cord meant for that. So you give a very gentle pull when you call their name and kind of gently reel them in and treat them. Be surprised how quickly they'll associate a treat with that. You're beginning probably the most important training aspect, which is recall. Recall is the thing that'll stop a dog in its tracks from crossing a road or getting into trouble or doing something else that you don't want the dog to do. And this is again with a puppy on my end, I start taking them into the woods at about 9 weeks old on trails where I'm not going to run into anybody, no other dogs. There's going to be no distraction, and I start walking along. When the puppy is 9 or 10 weeks old, it'll follow you like mom or dad. As it gets a little more comfortable in the woods, it might even start getting in front of you a little bit. So I'll walk along, and the puppy will walk along, and I'll stop. And typically, if it doesn't hear you coming, it'll stop. Depending on the dog, you can use the opportunity to begin your recall with the dog, or don't. What you don't want to do is keep calling it. If it doesn't call, you're reinforcing a negative. You can walk towards it. You can use a training lead. Lot of treat, lots of praise. I've always found that really gets a dog attention and following you. Couple more weeks of age, they're going to start getting ahead of you on the trail. So when they get to be 20 or 30 feet away, again, with no other people, no other dogs, not someplace where there's nobody around, they get ahead of me a little bit. I'll stop, and I might even slide a little bit behind a tree, and where I can peek out and I watch their reaction. Mom and dad's not with them anymore. Where are they? Now, stubborn dog can keep going, but my experience is, wait a minute, I'm out here in the woods, and my experience is that they'll generally come right back. And as soon as they start coming back and you can see them, you call their name, you praise the heck out of them, you rub their ruff and treat. So you want to keep working on a very, very solid recall. It's probably the most important thing in training. It keeps the dog from getting into fights, keeps the dog from bothering other people, keeps a dog from running into a road. So I would consider that the most important technique. Along with those are and this can be begun with a real small dog or a new dog, is work on sit. Dog sits, praise the heck out of the dog. I give little biscuits the size of a little fingernail. They can't measure how big the treat is, and you praise them. So you do some activities and you ask them to sit. So then begins the sit, and you back away a little bit. As soon as they get up and start coming to you, you go back and you put them on sit, and then you start working on wait, and you back up a little bit and you work on wait. I learned all of this, and it was successful with some of my dogs with dog training classes. And as long as we're talking about dog training classes, if your dog is under 16 weeks old, I would strongly recommend, whether it's a puppy or a dog you get, bringing them to a place where there's a supervised socialing, so that they get used to other dogs. One of the most important things they're going to learn in interacting with a trainer and with supervised socializing is bite aggression. Dogs don't have hands, so they pick up things, they communicate with their mouths and with their teeth. You'll see two dogs playing, two puppies, and they're rolling on each other and they're biting and nipping at each other. Socializing, they've learned bite strength. When the other dog gives a yip, they bite too hard. I learned a long time ago, that's what I do with the little puppy with the needle sharp teeth. And you put your hand down to pet it, and they start on your hand with their sharp teeth. And a very wise trainer told me one time, when a dog does that, you don't punish or anything. You pull your hand away quickly with an ouch, and you louder than that, and you startle the dog, so they realize they're learning bite. They're learning their bite strength and what hurts and what's not. And that's always something that I found. They do that when they're socializing. I mentioned 16 months because trainers will tell you once a dog is past 4 months old, they're pretty much imprinted in terms of, are they going to be frightened by a fire plug or a car coming by or a person in a wheelchair. I learned a lot in canine good citizen training and therapy dog session in terms of socializing dogs and how to react with stuff. So I'm kind of passing along my own experience. I'm sure there are other theories and ideas, but that's always worked with me, and it's worked for the people that have trained me to train my dogs. So sit, stay, wait, all important stuff, and you can back away. Distance, duration, and distraction, the 3 Ds. When you apply them to any of those, I'll put Toby on a sit out in the woods, and I'll start walking away, and I'll look at her, and I'll say, wait, and I'll just walk away. This is starting with her when she was about 3 or 4 months old. If she breaks, I walk back and I put her down on sit, and I'll say, wait, and I back away, and I can see at what distance. I can see it in their eyes when they're doing that. And if they're getting ready to do it, that's the time to say, okay, come on. So now you treat them, go back and you do it again. So distance, how far can you go before they break? Duration, how long will they wait before they break? and distraction. If you really want to work on your training when they're older, and they've got distance and duration down, go out in the woods with a friend with a dog, and put your dog on wait, and then walk 50 or 100 feet away and let the other dog come romping through, and you're going to see what training for distraction is like. Now we're talking about a very difficult thing, but you have to work on these, and I'm going very fast to talk about my approach to the 3 Ds and on sit, wait, stay, and recall.
Is there a minimum amount of time per week, say, that you need to work on this kind of training?
Jody Deal, who trained Buka and Toby, her attitude was this: make training fun. Always have a few dog biscuits, the little tiny biscuits in your pocket. Incorporate training every day. Toby goes on sit, and I put my hand up. This means down, and she at a distance, and she sits down for breakfast. I go across the kitchen. I get her kibble ready. I put it in the dish, and she waits. And then sometimes I let it go a little longer, and then I wave my hand and say, okay, and she comes flying over, and I go over to watch all of the saliva drips while she was waiting for me. That's the same thing. She's trained not to go out a door without an okay. So what do? She's 7.5. So if I go to the patio door to our fenced backyard, I'll say, you want to go out? She knows to sit right at the door, because if she doesn't, I just look at her until she plops her butt down. And then as I reach for the door, if I see the back end come up, and I just look at her and I say, hey, slide the door open. I can step out, and she's dying to go out in the yard. And then I say, okay. And then she gets treated and she rewarded. Good. So Jody had a really good observation. You have a party, Christmas party, or you have a birthday party, and people are coming to the door and ringing the bell. Your dog goes over to the door, can prevent an accident or a tragedy when the company opens the front door to come on in, and your dog runs out onto the driveway or the street. The dog knows that it can't go out without an okay. That's one other thing. She thought to incorporate training in all your daily things. She said, you don't have to make a big deal of it. You're going to do one small thing. You can give a treat. The other thing she taught me was that treat with decreasing frequency. Because if you treat a dog all the time, they're going to expect a treat every single time. And as soon as that stops, it's going to take a few repetitions for them to learn that they don't. So you treat with decreasing frequency. So the hope is always there, but you never cut out the praise and the treat ever, because that's how the training starts to slip.
And those are some good tips. And I'm really impressed that Toby's able to control herself like that. That's amazing. But I'm sure you worked with her quite a bit, and that's what
I have some fun with her. Sometimes when I'm out on a trail when there's nobody around,
yeah,
I'll put her or I'll throw a ball in a pond, and she's dying after it. So sometimes I make her sit there and just wait. I mean, her eyes are just about bulging. And I'll make her wait. Her reward is to dive for that ball, but she's not going to go until I tell her. And sometimes if I ask her I'll say down, and then she's just quivering to go after it, and she starts getting up. I give the down, and I just look at her and I watch her just melt right back down. She doesn't want to do it.
I hope she gets extra treats for that.
She does.
But anyway, I wanted to ask you about local trails, and also the local versus ADK and Catskill trails. Like, what's better or different? And before I get to your words on it, Hannah, who's my colleague with the V there, could you present the local trail maps?
Hannah, before you do that, can I just interject one thing?
Oh, sorry.
I have a note. I talk about this in the book, and I also learned about this. Christmas puppies. Don't get Christmas puppies. The last thing a brand new dog, first day, second day, third day at the house, full of people, kids, if they're children, you know, with the ribbon, they're, I want to hold them, I want to hold them. Plus all of the bad for dog candy and food around, plus the confusion around Christmas or any other big holiday, even for like a birthday. I've been told that responsible breeders will tell you if you're going to get a dog, or even if you're going to get a dog from rescue, I guess, really don't want to give you a dog, a Christmas puppy. They'll give you a Christmas puppy. Come and get it the day after Christmas. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I had a note I wanted to mention.
No, that's really good advice. So thanks to Bethlehem Public Library for this trail map. They gave us permission to post it and distribute it to you. So if you look in the top of the chat box, there's a link to this handout. And Hannah's going to present it so that you can see it on the screen.
I may not be able to present because I don't have the video ability.
Oh, okay. Does that mean do I need to promote you or anything? Let me see. Okay, I'm asking you to start video. So now try it.
All right, let's see.
Will I be able to see it, Meg?
Yeah, it'll be just like when you're presenting.
So unfortunately, I still have the issue
of
present. But I put it back into the chat in case anyone missed it when it came in.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, folks, but at least you have the link to the handout. It's really very well done. Alan, what's the name of the lady who did the map? Claire?
The person that did the map, the cartographer, her name is Liz Cruz. She's done the maps for both of my books. She's done the maps for all of my articles for different publications. She's just a whiz. The presentation was great hikes all around us, and it's 10 of the best hikes within 50 miles of Albany. Yes. I did the presentation for the Bethlehem Library a couple of years ago. So the map is there, Liz did it, and then there's a chart with the hikes and my own brief descriptions of why they're good hikes. So there are many of them are very suitable for families. All of them are suitable with dogs, with one exception. Overlook Mountain. I'm one of the fire tower stewards. It's down near Woodstock. When springtime comes, it's one of the locations in upstate New York with timber rattlesnakes.
Hey.
They go to sleep in October, and they're underground right through March. So Overlook has got a fabulous view and a fire tower with it. Not a great place to take a dog unless it's going to be on a leash up the trail. And the trail is a woods road, so it's perfectly safe, but not a great location in warm weather with a dog.
Here, what I'll do with this local map handout is tomorrow I'll email everyone who registered just a link to that. But if you weren't able to register and you just got in without registering, just take a look at it, because it really is worth having. So is there anything else you want to say with regard to the local trails and maybe the Adirondacks and Catskills?
Go online to the Hudson Land Conservancy. They've got about 20 preserves in the 2 or 3 counties around here, and they're just terrific. They're a great place with kids, almost all of them. A lot of them have water. The Bozenkill Creek has waterfalls and a trail that follows a stream for part of the way. The Hold Preserve has a clear water, cool pond with beautiful trails. Really nice. So there's a summary of those. Many of those are in my summary from that presentation that'll come with the handout. But if you go to their website, there's a whole bunch of great trails. Adirondack and Catskills, they both have a similarity. They both have big, tall, high peaks with steep, rocky trails. Good hikers, well-conditioned dogs, perfect. Both areas have low peaks and great trails. Adirondacks, if you live closer to the Adirondacks, you're going to really enjoy that. There's a bunch of those hikes in my book. Same thing with the Catskills, and then there's, I don't know, I think 10 or 11 hikes in the counties around the Capital District. There isn't really a great difference. What you're having right now, other than the little snow we've just gotten, is the trails are very muddy. So bear in mind, if you're going to go, you're going to be washing off your boots probably for the next while. And the DEC asks that hikers stay off the Adirondack high peaks during what's called the mud season, because it really abrades the trail and turns them into muddy, worn out, even more worn out trails. So that's really what I would have to say. But in terms of, if you're around the Capital District, the Conservancy's trails, and if you have my book, and I got to put a little plug in for it, you have my book, there's 77 great hikes from the Adirondacks through the Catskills, including some around the Capital District. Can I add one more thing about dogs that I didn't get to?
Please do.
Cold weather and hydration. The only way a dog can tell you that it's thirsty is its tongue sticks out. If it's sticking out, that means it's thirsty. Carry enough water for a dog so that their hydration comes before your comfort. In this time of year, the leaves haven't come out on trees, so walking through a hardwood forest trail, you might as well be out in a parking lot because the sun beats down right through it with almost no shade. What do I do in the springtime? I carry a lot of water, or I find a trail that's going to follow a stream, going to go by a pond, places where there's little feeder streams where my dogs can get water, or I carry a lot of water if it's there, or I look for a place in the conifers where the trail goes through hemlocks and pine trees because it's nice and shady. The ideal situation is shady and some water the dogs can cool off. In the middle of summer, sometimes if it's really hot, but not beastly hot, I can be carrying 3 or 4 liters of water, which weighs a lot. But when I stop, my dogs get hydrated before I do. So their little portable dish comes out of the pack. If there's no water on the trail, they drink first, then I drink. And that's really what you need to think. They're walking around, even dogs with thin coats, they're walking around with a fur coat. You're walking around in a t-shirt. So they're usually running around. So they're probably burning more energy than you are, even if you're carrying a pack.
So I guess we're coming upon tick season. That's always an issue for pets. What advice do you have for preparing the dogs before hiking, and then how do you check them after for ticks? And
well, let me start with the human. I look like a geek, but I stopped wearing shorts hiking, as wonderful and comfortable as that is, even on trails a number of years ago when the number of tick infections started rising. So I wear hiking pants, cotton poly hiking pants, and I tuck the tops of the pants into my hiking socks. So I look like a geek. Or I wear gaiters. And the tick, if it climbs on your boot or up your leg, it starts climbing. It can't come up the inside of your pants, and we don't need to describe where it can find a nice, comfortable home there. If you tuck in your shirt, they can't crawl up your pants and come up under your shirt and get on your chest, your back, under your armpits. So really lightweight nylon shirts, and they're always tucked in. That kind of limits where a tick can go. It can be on your hands. It can come up your sleeves, but that's pretty simple to check in the shower. Check your armpits. What you really want to minimize is the places where they can find home. And of course, hair is a terrible place because they can come up and get in there. I don't have the problem, but I can't speak for everybody in the audience. So that's what I think for the people. I spray all of my hiking clothes with permethrin, which is what the CDC recommends. It's a tick repellent and killer. I put them outside, spray it, let them dry, flip them over, spray it, let it dry, and they're good to go for a number of washings. I spray my pack in case a tick gets on the pack. You can be walking along a trail and there's a little sapling with a branch just sticking over. Ticks know where to ride. They climb up because they realize a mammal's going to come through there, a deer maybe, or a bear, and you touch against it, and you now have a hitchhiker. With dogs, get a flea comb. You can brush them out with a flea comb when you get back to the car. You can use a lint roller if their fur isn't wet. You can be surprised that you can pick ticks off with a lint roller on a dog, or actually off of your own clothing. I used tick medicine from the vet. Toby and her predecessors ingest the tick medicine once a month. Tick bites, the efficacy for that is a very, very high percentage when it's in their bloodstream, and the tick ingests it and dies. They also have a topical tick medicine that goes along a dog's back. My last two dogs have been labs. They're water dogs, and our vet has said the topical stuff tends to wear off before the 1 month for a dog that kind of around the house and not in the water as often. So we choose to use the medicine. She also gets a Lyme vaccination once a year. That's the studies have shown it's 93% effective. So the combination of the medicine and that, rather than go through all the problems with a dog getting Lyme. So that's what we do. The other thing is I have a water dog, and I do what I call slosh. There's a stream or a pond, or on my way home I'll find one. All I need to do is throw a stick. Toby hits that water so hard with a dive, it's like a tidal wave. So if there's a tick riding on her, I think it gets blasted off. I do that a few times. I compare that with some of my friends who have dogs on the same hike, and they'll come home and they'll say they pulled 2 or 3 or 5 ticks off their dog, and Toby doesn't have a one on her. Now, it could be lucky. It could be because she's a black lab and I don't see it, but typically you'd notice the difference. So I equate the fact that a dog in water, the tick doesn't want to drown, and they let go pretty quick, I think, once the dog is underwater. And Toby goes right under after a stick when she dives. So hey, listen, that's just my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, that's convenient. I mean, that she goes right in the water.
Well, it goes in the water. She'd rather go in the water than eat, and she likes.
Wow. Well, the questions about safety on the trails, dog safety, and how to deal with crowds, and protecting your dog on the trail. What do you have to say about that?
We talked about this a little earlier. There are actually a couple of hazards on the trail. There's the trailheads. Trailheads have got cars coming and going. Your dog's been in the car from wherever you were to where you're going to go hiking. The dog knows or you're going to go for a walk in the woods. That dog knows it's going to go have its fun. So You open that door, that dog just explodes out the door. The dog wants to go pee or it's raring to go. While the dog's running around the trailhead, jumping around, somebody could be pulling in, not expecting to see a dog run out in front of them in a busy trailhead. Trailheads are also near highways most of the time. Dog gets out of the car and sees something across the road or runs around. You could have a tragedy near a road. So in my view, dogs should stay in the car while you get your pack, your boots on, whatever you're going to do. Click them on the leash, get them out of the trailhead. If there's nobody on the trail, and your dog is trained to stay close, you can do that or leave them on the leash. But you've got them away from the trailhead danger, and you got to watch your hikes in terms of whether there are cliffs or other dangerous areas. In my Doghiker book, I talk about trailhead safety, and I also talk about any inherent hazards along the way on the particular trails that I write about in the book. Leave no trace. Nothing drives people who have dogs and pick up after their dogs, or people who don't have dogs, to see your poop bag bagged and left on the side of the trail, or hanging from a tree like mom's going to come and get it for you, or out in the parking lot. You pick up after, either bury your poop, the dog's poop, sorry, or bag it and bring it with you, double bag it, it'll cut down the smell. You can even, if you want to keep the stinky from out of your car, put it on the bumper or on the trunk, and close the lid with the plastic bag, tie a little knot on the top, and it'll look kind of stupid to people. See, why is that bag hanging off the back of your SUV or off the trunk lid? But it keeps the smell out of it, and you get home and you throw it in your garbage and be a good dog walker, hiker, citizen.
All right. We have a couple of questions. Do you want to take those?
Do you want to do that? Or
and then we can go for the slides.
The slides, because we're coming up on 10 of 10.
Okay. So the first question is, when does mud season end? Maybe that means in the high peaks or just in general.
Usually it's into June or the end of June. Last year it was really dry. So, I mean, it's not like, okay, it's a certain calendar date. Generally, the mud season is when it's muddy. If it's muddy on the trails around here or any place else, it's on a muddy trail around here, it's going to probably be muddy up there. Go find something where the elevation is less and the trail's not going to erode. Go to Doghiker. There's a ton of places in there.
Yep, definitely go to Doghiker. It is a great book. So
you want to save the questions, or do you want to look at the slides?
There's just one more question. Would you rather go to the slides?
Nope, let's do your question. That's
okay.
Fine.
The other question is, what is in your pet first aid kit?
Oh my God.
That's a long one?
Okay. If you just give me a second. I actually had it to make the presentation at a reasonable section, I had it in the slides, but if you just give me a second. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. If you prefer, we could go to the slides and then do that Q&A later.
This will be just multi-tool, sterile antiseptic wipes, duct tape for splints and bandages, super glue for paw pad, betadine antibiotic, paw booties, bandana for adding pressure to active bleeding, Benadryl for bee stings, pain medication. Ask your vet for the type of medication. Rounded tip first aid sitters, stretchable waterproof tape, quick clot that you can throw into a bad cut, SAM splint parachute cord, hydrogen peroxide for inducing vomiting in a dog if they eat something really bad, coated aspirin. Then there's a whole second page of field first aid substitutes that Dr. Bull provided for me. And then field treatments and emergency evacuations and various things. So it's honestly, it's too long to go into right here. I actually had photos of my partial first aid kit in the presentation, but I had to eliminate those so we could talk a little more about the previous things.
There is one more question. We could just go to this. What do you want to?
Your choice.
Anyway,
your choice. Whatever.
How long are your slides, do you think?
I'm gonna burn through them really quick. Come and see me at the Voorheesville Library. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
July 14th, 8 p.m. Check their website. You'll get to see all the slides, all the jokes and stories. I'm going to just kind of burn through them really quick so you'll get a short sample.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's how it ended up. But
not a problem.
Get Q&A, and hopefully, if we go a little bit over, folks will stay and watch the slides. But Susanna asked, how do you handle your dog with animals on the trail, such as porcupines, deers, etc.?
I'm thinking Susanna that might be a loaded question. I'm not sure. I don't know if she remembers this. I dequilled Toby with porcupine quill 7 times.
Ouch.
And I've dequilled 2 or 3, maybe 4 other dogs that I've come across in the woods. Toby had a strong prey drive, always looking for chipmunks and rabbits. That was her thing. She'd jump a porcupine and then rush right in with the paws in her face. And I had some slides, I think you may have seen them, that 2 of them with me dequilling dogs and another with quills. That's why I carry a multi-tool needle nose pliers, and I have my own little technique how to do that. What do you do to keep that from happening? Keep your dog on a leash. Get a good recall. Hard to do, easy to do with Toby because she stays right next to me. Buka stayed next to me, but could be 20 yards away to the side or 50 yards or 10 yards behind me. She had a great recall. She never she'd come immediately if I saw somebody coming, but she was looking for a chipmunk, and if she jumped over that log and there was a porcupine there, I had a half an hour of dequilling her. Other animals, Toby wears a bear bell. She wears a bear bell in the spring because mama's out with the cubs, and she wears a very loud bear bell. That it's an unnatural sound. Bears have great hearing, and could probably hear that bell a quarter mile away. Other than that, she can hear humans' conversation. So I had a couple of slides, one in particular of a friend's dog that got mauled by a bear and lived, and it showed the shaving and the stitches. So keep, bad time for a roaming dog in the woods if you surprise a bear. When I go off trail, which I do a lot, if I'm by myself, if there's 2 or 3 people, we're kind of chatting as we go. So a bear can hear us coming a long way away and scoot the cubs away. When I'm by myself, there's no conversation. So I talk to Toby, probably talk to her even when she's 8 feet away. I talk to her like she's 50 yards away periodically so that a bear can hear me coming, because I'm going along on a bushwhack with no trail, and I don't want to surprise a bear. I want to let them know we're coming. I keep her away from snakes, even garter snakes. If I see a snake on the side of the trail, I just dragged her away from it, because there are timber rattlesnakes in a few places in upstate New York, and there's copperheads, and envenomation is a bad thing.
All right, good advice. So now it's time for the slideshow. Do you want to share, Alan?
Everybody got it? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Oh, great. Okay. This
It looks good.
This is just a cover of the book, and I felt it that I really had to want to put that in. And how I used to take notes for all the years for my first book and for Doghiker. Then I got smart. Instead of trying to decipher my reading on the little notepad on the top of my bouncing camera case, I started using a little tiny digital recorder. Somebody asked me about keeping your dog away from animals. This is a really unusual photograph because my friend's dog Rev is sitting here, and you can see a baby fawn in the background. When fawns are born, they don't give off scent, and until they're able to keep up with the mother and stay away from predators, they lay curled up on the ground. And here you have one standing up and not afraid of a dog or a dog harming it. We talked a little bit of leave no trace. Here's a friend gave me this, a remarkable slide of his dog with F, a baby salamander. And I have sections on hiking with kids. Redheads do make the best hikers. Is the top of my slideshow being cut off with the controls? I can't. Can you see the child's head?
Yeah, it's cut off just a little bit, but
I'm trying.
It's pretty good.
Let me see if I can do this.
We can see his head.
I'm trying to see how
Elizabeth says she can see his head.
I'm trying to minimize that. I'm sorry. You guys are going to have to show me how to minimize this another time. So this is Severance Hill up in Scroon Lake, a great hike with kids. You got two tunnels that go under the Northway. Cane Mountain. This Catskill High Peak, they put the dog in a comfortable harness up on a tree to keep the dog from mooching other people's lunches when they stop at a summit, and to keep the dog from getting cold with its paws. I told Meg when she saw this slide, I used to run the hiking program at the Bethlehem Y, and I used to put up prints of some of the hikes I led there. And when you looked at this as a 5x7 on a bulletin board from a few feet back, I can't tell you how many of my friends at the Y said, "Oh, you share a joint with your dog?" It's actually a piece of zucchini. So I'm kind of going through these a lot quicker because we're running over time. So Barbara is a hitchhiker here in my friend's pack. Toby and her sister Layla. Layla is from the same parents, 7 months behind litter. They'll get a hold of a tennis ball, and they'll run with a tennis ball for a mile or 2 miles, neither one of which will give the ball up until they smell something, and then they're chasing each other to get the ball. They'll carry it out of the side of their mouth to taunt the other dog. They're not really angry. They're going for the stick. And they like to mooch. That's one of my friend's dogs, so that's perfectly fine. He's sitting there right next to him. It's faster if they fly. The Cornell Crack and the Catskills. This is a great place if you want to go with a dog in the wintertime. Albany Muni Golf Course closes for golf. 5 miles of cart paths, trails all through the woods. It's a great place. That's our go-to place 5 times a week from November until the course opens in the spring. This is what joy looks like. My friend Donna communing with her dog. There's Buka in the middle of her pack. We had done a Catskill bushwhack, and we got a ride from one of our hikers in his pickup truck back to the car. Three's company. There's Toby. This caption's in Doghiker, this photo, and I captioned it, hey, come take a look at this view. Baxter Mountain and the Adirondack High Peaks. Sunrise on one of the fire tower peaks in the Adirondacks. This is in the White Mountains, New Hampshire. So there's plenty more great slides. You come and see it in person. This is in Buck Mountain in the Adirondacks. And I'm going to close the slides with the mother dog cloud and the puppy cloud photo. Thank you very much.
Wow. Alan, thank you so much. I know that it was not easy for you to choose which slides to put in. So what's the date again in Voorheesville?
July 14th. It's going to be outdoors at the pavilion.
Oh, excellent.
And they're going to have audio visual, so I'm going to be able to run the slideshow, answer questions with the audience, and interact, which is what I much prefer.
That sounds great.
Hannah, are you still on? Can you see all of those mute control things up on the top of the screen? Is it showing up?
Unfortunately, I do not have that control. I believe Meg should.
I'm not sure what you mean, but what do you want to do, Alan?
It's showing up all of the various pause, share, annotate, stop video, mute, and it's we can talk.
The only thing I'm seeing at the top of this. Yeah. Okay.
Do you see it?
All right. Well, thanks so much, folks. Yeah, on the bottom. I see it.
You don't see a toolbar at the top?
No. All it says on my screen is you are viewing Alan V's screen, and then it gives you options for. It's a very thin, it's very slim line. It doesn't really interfere.
Okay.
That's what I'm seeing. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, folks. I appreciate your attending, and I think it's some great information, Alan. Wonderful presentation. Thank you so much. And Hannah, thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Come and see me in Voorheesville.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds great. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.